Howdy friends, welcome to Odin Leather Goods. It occurred to me recently that this is now right at 4 years since we first moved into this space, and that's also about the same amount of time it's been since I put out any kind of long length video on YouTube, so we thought we'd take a moment to do it again. Let's go inside, let me show you how things have changed and how we've grown since we moved in some years ago. Come on in. Some of you may remember when we first moved in here, really the impetus behind us was really having a bigger workshop. We were in a small space before, about 1,500 square feet, didn't have air conditioning, things like that. We had outgrown that space, so we leased this building down here in Old Town, beautiful Old Town Louisville, and it just happened to have enough space where we could have the full workshop in the back, right, which was awesome, and we have more space than we ever had before, but we also had enough space here in the front where we could go ahead and create a second retail space. You may remember we have our first retail space at the Grandscape development out in the Colony, which is great, still there. We're still doing fantastic out there, but this space is a little different. It is a little more warm, it's a bit more in touch, I guess. We're not just another store in a development, we are the store people are coming to see here. My wife, Rochelle, is really the one who curates everything in here, and she's really taken to merchandising and the science and art behind it. And at this point, I'm just trying to keep up with her, but she has really set things up where it's warm, it's friendly, it's approachable, it's authentic to us, and it highlights all the different products that we make, but also highlights some of the brands that we carry, because we do curate some other brands, mainly small brands from the South and the Midwest that we think are going to be perfect matches for Odin Leather Goods. Again, if you follow me for any period of time, you may notice I pretty much wear the same set of shirts, jeans and a button-up. And one of my favorite button-up brands is this company, San Jack. They've been great partners of ours. They're another Texas brand out of Stephenville, Texas, make awesome shirts. And we have, of course, our t-shirts. We make tons and tons of t-shirts here. And then we've got the things that we make, like these mini purses. This is fairly new to us. My personal style obviously is not a mini purse style. I don't use a mini purse, but I'm fortunate enough to have some really great young ladies on my team here and my wife who are always pushing us to do things that are a little more female centric and that are a little more on trend. And so this is our version of the mini purse. We've launched these within the last few weeks and they've been really great. We can't keep up with these, so we're actually going to do a bigger run of these soon. Of course, we got our Raleigh totes. This has been a staple of ours for years and works out really well. Make a ton of those. And since we make it all here, we do different colors, we do different styles. You may see it in brown, but it can also be done in red. It can be done in purple, you know, with a little pushing, a little time. We've got our wallets, we've got cable rolls, which are like ubiquitous. We sell tons of those over and over again. We're going to the hot part of the year, which is Christmas. Lots of companies ordering those. We've been doing those for years. We've done thousands of them. Laptop sleeves. It's custom items. We've got our rifle slings. We've got our drink stuff. You know, we're big whiskey drinkers here. We're not heavy drinkers, but we enjoy the bourbons. We enjoy the whiskeys. So we like to highlight things like that. Our wine totes, which I get reports from a lot of our friends who buy my patterns that they've bought the wine tote pattern, and the wine tote pattern does fabulous for them and their markets and holiday sales and things like that. So we still sell them here, of course, in store. We'll also sell patterns for a lot of these things. Most items that we make in the store, you can buy a pattern on my website, odinleathergoods.com, and try to make it yourself. Go at it. If you have a problem with it, give us a call. We're happy to help you and tell you what leathers to buy and what hardware to buy. But we are a very transparent company. You can buy them here, but you can also try your hand to make it yourself. One of the really great things we've done in the last year was our belt bar. As a retailer, a small retailer, I found it very tough to keep enough belts on the shelf at any given time to support all the customers. So we've transferred our belt sales, for the most part, into this belt bar type of approach where we have all our straps already made. You can go over here, find your size, you find the strap that you like. Maybe a gentleman comes in, he likes this one because it has this gunslinger style pattern on it. He finds his size. He can take that belt strap, match it with his belt buckle, and then we'll move over here to the bar and we'll put it together for them. And if you buy the belt in store, we actually will also do branding on it. One thing we offer complimentary for most of our customers is we will easily add in and brand onto a belt or a wallet or something else, someone's initials. And this has been really great. It's a nice performative type of thing. People love seeing something being personalized just for them. Because we're in Old Town Louisville, we have this old building. It just had space for us to do that. It's been really, really great for us. And we've actually figured out a way to take this on the road with us. So now when we do events, you guys know we do a lot of events here. We actually take the branding bar and the belt bar with us and do events for corporations, conferences, wedding rehearsals, you name it. We've taken this stuff out of here and taken it on the road. So been a great addition to the store. So as we get past the retail store, the first thing we're going to stop at is this gateway here, if you will. We learned very quickly when we moved in here that we have to have some kind of blocker here. We never want it to be hidden the way that we make things here. When you walk in the front door, we want people to see that anything they see leather up front is actually made here in our workshop. This first, I guess, true workshop area space is going to be my tooling bench. Over the years, I've done a lot of tooling. I've backed away from tooling. It's something that I very much so appreciate, something I very much want to get better and better at, something I want to invest my time and energy into. I have found that over the last really year and a half or so, this has been my therapy space, if you will. I'm doing more now here than I ever have before. Previously, I would just do it for myself, and it was only items that I'd make for me and my family. I found time recently that I can actually start adding some of these items back to the store. If you know anything about tooling, you know there's a lot of history and there's art behind it, and there's, you know, I'm fortunate enough to be able to contact these gentlemen and women who are just outstanding artists. They've been doing this for years and years. They've been happy to help me out and help feed into my craft here. And so I've collected some really great tools. We'll do another video on just tooling at some other point in time and talk about just what goes into it and why it's expensive and why it matters and why some people won't take anything but hand tooled and carved leather. There's a lot to that. But if you come in the store, if you want to see what's available, well, you do have a case here. In the case is a number of tooled items that you can buy right now. There's also all the tool belts already on the rack. And of course, myself, Brandon, Drew, Riley, any of the team members would love to talk to you about doing a custom project just for you. We did a big project recently. We actually are planning on doing it every year for the city of Louisville. They do an annual tamale eating contest. And if you follow me online on Instagram at Odin Leather, you probably saw a lot of that content over the last week where we actually make this massive championship belt that's about this big. And it's solid leather through and through. And every piece of it is hand tooled and painted. All right, so we'll come back this way. We've got one of two offices here. This is usually where my wife's office is. She does all her planning there. That's her space, her domain. In fact, she's even painted a bright green, which is totally different than what we have the rest of the space. So that's her area. We won't go in there. Just know if you call and you have a question about a custom event or a large order where you're going to ask us to make, 1,000 pieces of something, your conversation is usually going to get funneled to Rochelle. Rochelle's the one who takes all the information. She puts it together, brings up notes, and then she and I talk and we come up with pricing and quotes for you. But Rochelle is the kind of the clearinghouse for all those things. And she has done an outstanding job the last few years that she's been on board. You may remember, this all started with me in my home as a little hobby on my dining room table. That's where my journey into leathercraft started, me just making a few things. And my wife tolerated me making a lot of noise and a mess in her dining room. She also tolerated me destroying her dining room table at the time because, well, dining room tables aren't made for doing leather on, we quickly realized. Once I got pushed out of the dining room, finally into the garage, things start to really grow and grow and grow. And so having her as part of Odin Leather Goods, having her leave her corporate job behind and her career behind to join us here and make Odin Leather Goods truly a family business is something I'm very proud of, that she was comfortable enough to do that. And so she has a lot. Odin Leather Goods is not just me. My name may be Odin, my name may be on the door, but just know that currently that represents a team of people, and she is the linchpin of that team. She's the one that keeps a lot of things going here. Something else I'm very proud of is our sewing room. I feel like I'm blessed to be able to have enough space to do this. We call it sewing room because it has all sewing machines in it. Right now we've got, let's see, 4, 6, I don't know, 8-ish machines in here. At one point in time, I had 14 different machines in this space, which by the way is way too many. We don't need those many machines. Leathercraft is simple. It doesn't require a lot of tools. It only requires a handful of things. Now I say that and you see me standing in this room full of machines, you realize, well, those things can't be true. Well, it is true. All these machines are specialized to do a few things. Most of the work that we do in here is really going to be done at this machine here. This is our Cobra Class 26. It's a medium duty stitcher. It's a machine just for leather. It's been a great machine, great company. We're really happy with this machine. It's a workhorse. And then another one is going to be our Cobra 18 flatbed machine. There's different models of this. You don't have to go with Cobra. There's there's Juki's, there's Conseil, there's all these other brands you can go with. We've got a post bed machine here, which is great for doing irregular shaped objects, which is kind of similar to this cylinder arm machine. It's really about bag making here. I can stitch flat items here, but really it really shines through when there's something that doesn't easily feed through a flatbed machine. Dallas has been really, really kind to us. And one of those kind partners is Sunny Sewing Machines. They make this brand of machine called Thor. These are mostly Juki clones. They're great machines. We've got another machine here. This is a binder. Binding is like where we put this ribbon and tape around the edges of our work just to dress it up a little bit. Something that's not required for any workshop. You can do the work by hand or you can choose not to do it at all. But it's really nice to be able to dress up inside of our bags by doing the binded edges. This machine is dedicated to that. This is like the two workbenches where a lot of this happens. When I first moved in, I figured, well, we're going to start with one workbench, then two workbenches. Eventually, we're going to add on the third workbench because I figured we're going to grow to the point where we need a third full-time leather craftsman out here, and I think that will happen probably in 2026. During the week, during the day, Drew's usually here, Brandon's over on this table, or Drew's there and I'm here. We switch off and on. On this side of the space, we have our kick presses. This kick press is I'm happy with. It's about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I bought out a portion of a factory that had been in business since the early 80s, and they had shut their doors. They decided they no longer wanted to do business anymore. The gentleman was retiring, and so I had the opportunity to buy a lot of his equipment. More equipment than I actually needed, more equipment than I was ever going to be able to use. But part of that is I got all these old machines, and in fact, I've got, there's 4 of them here in the workshop today, but I think I got a total of 9 of them. You're basically putting rivets and spots and things like that in. It's really cool to be able to have these set up to do one thing. And so we have 1, 2, and 3 down the road here, where if we're doing a big job, we can have more than one person doing stamps, and we can have one person doing rivets, which helps things go along. Good example of that is last week we had a job we were doing for Rivian. We made 3,000 keychains. Well, we can either have one guy riveting 3,000 keychains by himself, or we can have 3 people in the shop riveting keychains, even if it's just one of the young ladies from the front come back here, and in between customers and working and answering the phone, she's back here riveting keychains for us. It just makes the work go faster. So it's really a nice thing to have multiples of some of these tools. I really wish this is my favorite press. I really wish they sold this. They don't anymore. But if you know someone that has one and they don't want it anymore, give me a call. I'd be happy to buy it off of them, because it is a fantastic press. It's no frills. It's just straight to the point. But something about it, I like the way it looks. I like the way it works. It's been great. This is a newer model that Weaver makes, which I'm very happy with this as well. It gets a ton of use every day, but something about this one, this is probably the one I like the most. In between them, I have my skiver here. This is a bell skiver. In that purchase of that factory, I actually purchased 3 more of these in that factory, and I thought I was gonna have several of these in here, and we realized that, you know what, there's really no need to have more than one of these in the workshop. And so this is the very first one I bought. The other ones we've sold since then. I couldn't afford to buy this machine when I got it. And when I did get it, I didn't know how to use it, and it kind of sat idle for about 9 months until someone was kind of showing me the little tips and tricks to use it. Because truth be told, when I got into this business and I started buying machines, there was no one out there teaching people how to use it. Now, there's a number of people that will online, Aaron Heisner, Steve Van Plu, a few other folks out there that have videos that actually go into the intricacies and nuances of how to set this machine up, maintain it, and keep up with it. They were not available when I started doing leathercraft. Maybe I should have been the guy to come up with those videos, but I wasn't that smart. But it's nice to know that there's guys like Steven and Aaron that are doing that for us now. So kept this machine. For those of you who don't know what this is a bell skiver. This is with my hand on right here. This is actually a blade. It turns around really fast and allows us to take thick leather and thin out the edges of it. Right? So sometimes you need to thin the edge of the leather out just so you can turn it back a bit or make it less bulky. That's what this machine does. So it's very, specific machine. We used to have it in a different part of the workshop, and we realized we use it so much throughout the day, it just makes sense to be closer to the workbenches. If I was going to design a workshop again, a lot of this would be designed around making sure that the tools are closer to the people using it, and the tools that the tools that you use more often are closer to the workbenches. There's probably some science out there about how to set up workshops. I didn't take that class in college, so I don't know what it is. What I do know is when you have an opportunity to make a change, when you have an opportunity to update something, that's when you do it. You consider, what can I do to make it better for myself and for the guys out here, for the girls up front. It's all about efficiencies. That's how we get better. That's how we grow without spending a ton of money. You see, we got a ton of work on the table already. We've got a bunch of valet trays we're trying to get out the door tomorrow. It's a Sunday, so no one's here right now, but these will get out the door, tomorrow or Tuesday for order. Holiday season, so it's always that kind of stuff going around here. Big orders coming through. So 60 of these going out. And if I'm going to make 60 for one customer, we tend to do another few for us as well, because I have the 2 stores I have to keep up with. So 60 is maybe what the order was for, but we're probably going to end up making anywhere from 80 to 100 of these, so we can keep some for the retail store because we know that they're going to be used. These just happen to be in a nice ostrich pattern, which is really beautiful. Some of the best faux ostrich that we've come in contact with over the years. Really happy with this stuff. So we're going to make some bags out of this as well. On this side, we've got some of the funner things. I'll start on the far end and work our way back this way. It's been a while since I've used this machine. This is a big old heavy machine. This was recommended to me by the fine folks at Minnesota Works, I believe is the name of the company. I saw them using it in a Instagram video some years back, probably 6, 7 years ago. And I was just wowed. I was like, what is that fabulous machine you have? It looks cool. It sounds cool. It's old. It's loud. It kind of makes you pucker a little bit when you turn it on because I'm always worried that it's going to blow up or the hoses are going to break. Some of these hoses are kind of brittle and they're old, and I haven't taken time to repair them or replace them yet because, well, we're busy. You have to have time. Repair things as they break. But what it basically does is it goes up and down. It's a press, but it's a press with heat, right? So ways to mark leather, you can do pressure, time, and heat are the only variables you have to work with. This machine does all three of those things. It will heat up to about, I think this is 550 degrees. By the way, there's never a reason to heat up and stamp a piece of leather at 550 degrees. That's way too hot. Most leather gets stamped around 225, 250, especially if you're gonna do foil. That's more than enough. Some tough leathers may go up to 350, something like that. But then you can also set it where it goes down with a certain amount of pressure. This one goes up to, I think it's either 5 or 6 tons, something like that, depending on the day. And you can have it hold for a period of time. So it goes down, and not only just go down and stamp, but it goes down and it can hold for anywhere, I think up to, 6 seconds, it'll hold the pressure on the leather, which is really good for making those really crisp markings. But for our small jobs, we like using these presses here. This is a pneumatic press. This is a bit of a Frankenstein press. I also got this in that factory purchase a couple years ago. It is, people ask me all the time, hey, what model is that and where do I buy it? I was like, well, I have no idea. If you look close enough, it's made up of a number of different machines. Whoever the guy or gal was that put this thing together was really smart. It's just a pneumatic ram, a heat controller, and some stuff back here that helps with the timing to make sure the stuff stays up and down on the schedule. And it has a foot press. And the way you know that it's old is that all the new machines, this is a foot press here, which is really handy. The way you know it's old is that it doesn't have any safety controls on it, right? So this machine, which is probably, I think, 70 years old, actually, you actuate it by, you have to have your 2 hands on it. You can't get your hands underneath the press and stamp them on accident because you got to have them down here. So that's a safety control. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have that one. This is, you hit it with your toe and it goes down, doesn't matter where your hands are. This is a Ernest Schaefer machine. Ernest Schaefer is a New York company. They are probably known best for selling typesets and foil to the bookbinding industry, which is where this is usually used. But us leather crafters use it for other stuff. You can also get this as a quick print. Is another brand. Kingsley's another brand you can look for. But what we have here is an Ernest Schaefer machine, which is I guess is modeled after an old quick print machine, which if you can get your hands on a quick print, that's great as well. The third machine I ever bought, third piece of equipment I ever bought in my business was, third or fourth, was this press. This is a Mighty Wonder, I think, from Weaver. There's a number of makers out that do this now because at some point in time, if you're doing any amount of work, getting yourself a small press to set stamps or to use clicker stamps or clicker dies is useful. That seems to be like the evolution of most small crafters is they go from doing it all by hand, like I did. I used to use a C-clamp to do all my stamping as I put things in between 2 layers of leather and a stamp, and I'd use a C-clamp to push it together. Worked fine, by the way. But when we want to step it up a bit, we have to get a press. When I talk about stamps, these are stamps here, right? This is how we get the images in the leather. But the good thing is I can take these same stamps that are made out of this magnesium metal. I can use them here, I can use them here, here, and all the way down. That works on all of these. So in addition to the metal stamps, here's an example of some other stamps we actually make in-house. These are our acrylic stamps. So these we make on the big laser back there using thick acrylic. This is equivalent to this, right? In fact, very similar designs. This is kind of our in-house design that we use. We use this same stamp for a number of years. But for this customer, they have their own version of this. They didn't need 1,000 of these things made. They only need a couple hundred of them, maybe 50 of them. So we made this one in-house because we knew we didn't need to use heat. The metal ones we can use on heat presses. The plastic ones, the acrylic ones, we can only use on veg tan, put a little water on there. But you'd be surprised, we get quite a bit of detail out of these. And I guess the third way we can do stamps is we can also do brass for really high volume jobs. This is a brass stamp here. A bit more expensive, but really, really crisp impressions. But we usually only use brass if we're going to do thousands and thousands of something. Throughout the day, we've tried to slowly but surely build some redundancy. So I may have 2 of one edge or 2 hammers, and instead of just having one that's just for me, that I just share with the guys, now it's about having multiple. So whenever I can't always do it, but whenever I can, I actually will get 2 of everything. And so there's not as much sharing. And again, this is a mess because it's a working workshop. We were here working this morning. We'll be here again tomorrow. We've got our dies, we've got our edge polishers, and we've got our hand tools. They're everywhere. And again, I will remind anyone watching this, if you think that this is all required to do leathercraft, it isn't. Leathercraft is simple. This just helps us get the job done more consistently and a little bit faster in a production environment. But Leathercraft itself only requires a few tools, and these are just expansions of those few tools here. We've got our hardware store here. We have, I remember when I first started doing these hardware bins, one little rack that had like, I don't know, had maybe like 10 of these boxes. And now we've got 3 racks full of hardware to choose from. So as we're working on projects, the goal is to keep these things filled with the things that we need the most. This is our kind of a buckle space here. I want to have buckles here for when we're making belts. If we're going to make 50 belts, I don't want to have start and stop. The guys do all their work, but I didn't do my part because I forgot to order buckles. So as we get away from this stuff, we also got some other tools here. This is our big splitter. Probably seen some videos of us using this before in the past. What is this? Essentially, it's a big blade. It's rollers that push leather across a big blade. It takes thick leather and turns into thin leather, which is really, really handy when you work with some of the heavier saddle skirtings and things that we do, especially in the tooling space. Another one of the finds we got out of that factory buy we had a few years ago is this power hammer. If you've ever seen people doing metal work, a power hammer basically just goes up and down really fast. That's what this does. We use it for leather. This is really old. It looks cooler and sounds cooler than it is maybe useful. Don't really use it a ton, but I love it. I love when I do have an opportunity to use it because it's just kind of cool. It makes cool videos. It makes cool sound. Very loud, that hammering thing. But we basically use it to hammer seams. We make bags. One way to really clean up the designs of our bags and make them look as good as some bag you may buy in some big fancy store in Europe is by making sure we're hammering the seams. It makes the seams lay flatter and open them up a little bit more. So that's what this machine is. We've got our heat press here. We've got a hat press. We've got a couple of hat presses these days that we use for making our hats. We've got some good partners in the hat making space. Lone Star Adhesives has been really fantastic to work with over the years. They've been very supportive of us. Let's talk about the laser space. This space has grown tremendously, really, not only in the last few years, but also in the last week or two. This is a brand new machine. I mean, it's just rolled in here. This is our big Thunder Laser Nova Plus 51. I think that's what it is. Thunder Laser is a brand, of course, and it's the Nova Plus machine, and this is the 51 model, which means it's 51 inches wide by like 38 to 40 inches deep. It's massive. I mean, you can crawl inside the sucker and get in there if you need to, but I can fit pretty much almost an entire shoulder of leather into this thing. It's beeping. It's brand new. I don't know why it's beeping. I'll figure that out. We're basically going to be using this for prototyping. We're going to be using this for covering and cutting all of our acrylic templates. Some of you know we sell a ton of acrylic templates. Almost every item we make in the store, bags, wallets, even our belts, we have a template for. We're not holding on to all this stuff. We make it available to other makers out there. If you want to make a bag like me, go buy the template for it. It's online. We have some that are available for download if you want to just paper template, you want to make your own, but we also make acrylic templates as well, and we've got lots of them. But all those are cut here on this machine. That's the biggest use for it. But then we also use prototyping. But design it here, cut it over here, put it together over here as well. We've got orders on the wall. It's ebbing and flowing. Speaking of ebbing and flowing, we've actually continued to invest more in this space. In fact, so I actually have one more machine coming. It's actually in the back right now, still on the pallet. I walk by it several times a day and I try my best to ignore it and not look at it because I know once I open that pallet up and I start unboxing it, I've got to go head into it and I've got to make sure I get installed because I'm that type of person. I can't just leave it undone. So I'm trying to leave it back there right now so I can focus on getting this other things together. Like I've got to install the exhaust system here. We've got to do some stuff in the attic to prepare for it, but we'll have the big Thunder Laser Nova 51. This is a CO2 laser for cutting leather and acrylic and things like that. And we'll have another laser here, which is going to be our big fiber laser, so we can do metal work. So pretty soon we'll be able to do our own, cut our own stamps here, brass stamps, magnesium stamps. We talked about magnesium stamps at the other station, but what we're trying to do is expand our capabilities here. So not every one of those magnesium stamps will I need to send out to have made. I will be able to do some of them here. More to come on the laser stuff. Lots more videos on that stuff to come. And yeah, next time you see it, it'll probably be different. So let's, oh, this is a good one to point out. 2 more machines that I got in that haul I got from that factory buy, you know, not so long ago, was these 2 strap cutters. Until about a year and a half ago, most people would be amazed by me saying that we cut all our straps by hand. We make a ton of belts. We make hundreds and hundreds of belts every year. We make thousands of belts a year. We make hundreds of them a month, I guess, to keep the store and online, the retail stores and the online store going. It's one of our biggest sellers is belts. Each one of those was cut by hand. I have these rollers set up for our most common strap sizes. So we have 1.5 inch strap sizes from here over, and we can cut just 1.5 inch belts, which is our standard size belt. From here over is 1.5 inch, and from here over here is 1.25 inch. We do a lot of 1.25 inch as well, but not as many. So I don't even have to take this thing out. I don't have to rearrange it. I don't have to reconfigure it every time I want to change strap sizes. We have it set up that way. This one over here is set up for 1 inch and 3/4 inch belts, which is commonly used for our shoulder straps. So half is 1 inch and half is 3/4 inch. Again, trying to find ways to be efficient. And I'm blessed enough to have both these machines where I don't have to reconfigure them every single time, which is what most people have to do. They have one strap cutter, and every time they want to do a different size of strap, they have to go and take all the blades off and load it back in, and it's time consuming. Now, with 2 machines, very rarely do we need to take these things apart. This is kind of our cutting room, if you will, a cutting space, highlighted by our racks of leather, right? This is what people love to see when they come here. They can actually walk through the front door and they can look all the way back here and they see this massive rack of leather, which is really just a pallet rack out of a warehouse. We've cut it down some for our needs. I use District Leather Supply up in Atlanta, Georgia. They had what they call their leather hotel, and they had all these shipping boxes they used to keep things organized. So instead of just having it all piled on the rack and laid on top of each other, we create these separations by using shipping boxes. It allows us to get leather in and out much easier. We can find what we're looking for. Usually we keep it fairly organized. Some days when we're, kind of running at a good clip, it'll get a little jumbled up and leather will all be stashed in different places. But for the most part, each one of these boxes, these tubes, if you will, has a certain type of leather in it that we use. Like this is Avatar leather from Texas Leather Supply. This is another color of it. This is Vaquetas. And, it may not make a lot of sense to the Joe Schmo that comes in on the street and looking at this, but for us that are here, myself, Brandon, and Drew, we pretty much know what all these things are. The heavy leather, like this is the side of Herman Oak leather we use for our tool belts. Really heavy stuff, that's up here, right? Heavy stuff, I don't know if that makes sense, but all the heavy stuff goes up top. It's mainly what we use for belts. We've got some lining materials, Kadura here, Salpa. Some of the more like stuff that's kind of flowing in and out, the quick turn stuff is down here at the bottom. We've got some lining materials and Kodiaks down there, some bison here. Got a ton of veg tan over here. This one actually shouldn't even be here at all. In fact, I'm going to take it off the rack, put that over there. Don't really want this sitting on top of this veg tan. This is all natural veg tan we were using for a project last week with Rivian where we made 3,000 keychains. That was this leather we used for that. And so we've got a few other corporate projects and events coming up over the next few weeks. So this will get eaten up pretty good. So if you come in here next week, most of this will probably be gone and turned into keychains and coasters and things like that. This leather I just pulled off, it's called King Ranch. Some people call it Heritage. We use a ton of this. This has been really good for bags and shotgun shell bags, and it'll make a bunch of other stuff too, but we buy it in bundles. It seems like we've getting away from buying things by the side. Now we buy them by the bundle. And bundles typically have anywhere from 50 square feet of leather to 120 square feet of leather. This one probably has 100 or so plus square foot of leather in it. It's like 5 sides of leather. And this is where it starts. This is a pretty big height. This is a 30 square foot height, which is pretty sizable. Reading these numbers here coming out of tanneries is its own little science. It's taken me some years to figure this out, but they've got machines in the tanneries that accurately measure the size of each hide, and they stamp these numbers on them so we know what's included in it. And some of the tick marks here have other meanings that the tanneries use, but that's how we figure out how big the hides are. Because once you roll them out, it's just a lot of leather to go through. So anyway, we cut off our straps off the strap cutters, which I've already shown you. We tend to hang them on the rack here. You can tell that we're pretty down to the minimum amount of straps we want to have on the shelf, because typically what we do is if we're going to make belts, we're making belts. We'll buy the hides. As soon as the hides come in, we'll strip them out, because if they don't get stripped out immediately, they get, we bite off of them for other things like coasters. That's not what they're there for. We get them, take them to the strap cutter, strip them all down. By the way, straps are easier to store than the bigger hides. And then we cut them, put holes on the ends of them, and hang them on the rack. And then if we have, if we get 20 straps out of each hide or 30 straps out of a hide, we will take most of them, that will go to belts, and we'll retain a few of them here as just blank straps in case something comes up. In case the customer comes in, they want a belt that we don't have a size for, or there's some random project that we need a strap for, we'll have those. And beneath that is kind of my personal stock of exotics. We don't do a ton of exotic work here. but it's nice to know that if you need something made out of elephant, I've got some elephant hides there. If you need something made out of shark, there's a shark hide. You know, there's some random things. There's a couple of alligator hides here, Nile crocodiles here that I buy when I go to these different shows and events. I'll maybe, if I see a good deal, I'll buy a hide or two, something like that. Often if a customer comes in, they need something custom, we will buy the hides for their specific needs. But sometimes there's one here, we can buy it off and put it to work. There's a zebra back there, somewhere. There's even some hippo over there that I've still not found a way to use. I don't even know why I have it, but it's back there. Here's our cookie cutter collection. And by cookie cutter, I mean these are clicker dies. Each one of these is basically a pattern, a component of a item, a bag, a belt, a tote bag, whatever. They're basically just big cookie cutters. And I've got two different types. I've got these heavy duty steel rule dies. The ones that are black here, these ones I like, these are made by a local company called Texas Custom Dies. And this I think is for a field note cover. So our field notes, if you buy one of those, this is the die that is used to cut the inside parts of it. Our bifold wallet, there's the die for our bifold wallet. Coasters, you need a square coaster, we're gonna use that die to cut that. And the other ones here are kind of more of a modern take on those dies. They're not as heavy duty as the steel rule dies, but they're a bit more precise in terms of accuracy, and they are thinner, which means they have a cleaner cut at times. There's a good argument to use the heavy duty ones, and there's a good argument to use the lighter duty ones. It just depends on what you're making. Most of what we get these days are gonna use these lighter duty ones because they're laser cut and they're very precise and accurate. This is another one of those bags I actually do sell patterns for. You can find them on the website. You can buy the pattern as a paper pattern that you can download and print out on your own, or you can buy the acrylic pattern. But when we're making the bags here in-house, we go a step beyond the patterns and we actually just use clicker dies. So all of them are consistent and accurate as we're doing that. Where do we use these things? How do we use them? We use those things on our big hydraulic presses. This is the first hydraulic press I bought. This is a Cowboy hydraulic press. I think this is a 16-ton press. Great press. We have this one. We use it a lot still, right? And essentially, cookie cutter goes on there, leather goes underneath it, die goes on top, hit the buttons, it goes down, cuts out the shape that you need. And that way they're consistent. Every one of them is gonna be the same. It's really great. But as we've gone on, we have some bigger projects. We actually need a bigger clicker die. And so we have this hydraulic press over here. This is also a Cowboy. I don't even know if Cowboy's still making these, but this is a Cowboy press. This one is, I believe, 26 tons. Right? I think this is either 21 or 26 tons, but it's a bigger press, bigger cutting surface, more power. We use these presses not only to cut out leather, but we also use these presses to do a lot of stamping. So if we don't have to do the stamping on the heat press, because some leathers don't need heat, we'll do the stamping here. And as you can imagine, 16 tons or 26 tons of pressure does a lot of cutting for you. And then the middle of the room is, of course, our cutting table. All my tables, including the workbenches up front, are covered in this plastic material. This is HDPE material. You get a lot of questions about this because people notice that I don't have cutting mats all over the shop. Don't want to do that. We can cut on this, we can pound on this, we can do all of our work on this material and don't have to worry about damaging our tools, right? Because it's soft material. This is, I think, 3/4 inch sheets, which is perfect for us. The top will get worn out over time. When it gets worn out, you know what we'll do? We'll flip that sucker over and now we got a fresh top. This top has been on this one for 4 years and it is still got plenty of life in it. We've got another couple of years of life in it. But when it wears out, we'll flip it over, we'll beat up the top again, and when that one gets worn out, we'll replace the whole thing. That's pretty much the whole workshop. It's pretty simple. You know, it's there's not a lot to it. It's certainly there's plenty of space to improvements. There's ways that we can make it more efficient. In fact, that's one of my favorite things to do is make this space as efficient as possible. But that's something you just learn by doing work here. The more work we do, the more comfortable we get. We know what works, we know what doesn't work. We make changes, and every iteration is a little different. That's Odin Leather Goods in a nutshell. If you go back and watch the previous video when we were just moving in, or before we moved in, you'll see that this place has changed a lot. And it's amazing to me when I watch the video to think that I did not think we'd ever fill the space. We recorded that. It was like, we've got more space now than we'll ever need. And now, 4 years later, I'm thinking, no, it was just enough space. In fact, I can see in the next year or two, as we continue to grow and we continue to change the business around, to do new things, we're gonna need more space. And that's fine. That all represents growth and leveling up for us. And I'm ready for all of it. And I hope that you're ready for it as well. I hope you'll stay with us. I hope you'll hang out with us as we go and we go through this journey. We'll do a better job, try to do a better job doing more videos coming out. We're gonna do some projects. We got a lot of stuff on the horizon. The man behind the camera, Steve, has got me thinking of really great things, and so a lot more to come with us working together. So yeah, stay with us. Like, share, subscribe, ask questions. Love comments. Of course, you can always hit me up on Instagram. That's probably where I spend most of my time. You'll see all the behind the scenes things there, the updates about new projects, whatnot that we're doing. We're gonna bring you along for the journey. So thanks for joining us today, appreciate it. And until next time, yeah, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks.